A middle school girl is brutally beaten over her alleged support for ICE. Vice President JD Vance announces a massive hold on Medicaid funding to Minnesota. Cuba accuses a U.S.-registered speedboat crew of igniting a firefight with border guards, resulting in 4 fatalities. And during a routine stop for coffee, a crew of movers spring into action to help rescue a kidnapped 3-year-old in Arizona. We'll get into all of that and your quick hits now. What's up, guys? Welcome to the wrap-up, where we break down the biggest stories of the week that you might have missed but need to know. I'm your host, Casey. First up, a Washington middle school girl was attacked in a locker room by 2 classmates demanding to know her stance on immigrations and customs enforcement. The incident was triggered by a social media post from the girl's boyfriend, in which he stated that one of his potential career paths was becoming an ICE agent. According to the Post Millennial, the 13-year-old girl's boyfriend posted on TikTok saying, quote, Plan A, marry a nice girl, have kids, get rich. Plan B, become an ICE agent. The 13-year-old girl was violently assaulted in the locker room at Lucille Umbarger Middle School in Burlington, Washington, after 2 other girls demanded to know whether or not she supported ICE. When she said it was none of their business, they punched her in the head, held her hair, and tried to drag her down. The video had reportedly been widely circulated throughout the school by students and staff, but it took 5 days for the principal to contact the girl's mother. The Burlington chief of police said, quote, "We do have an active case on this incident and are working through all the details." The mom said that the principal told her the school is working on a safety plan and that the police want the school to extend the suspension of the girls who attacked until a safety plan for the victim is in place. Up next, Vice President JD Vance announced Wednesday that the White House is temporarily pausing over $250 million in Medicaid funds to Minnesota over rampant fraud recently uncovered in the state. The vice president stated that the administration is gearing up to move, quote, very aggressively against individuals and organizations accused of ripping off Medicare and Medicaid programs through exploitation and fraud. Vance clarified how exactly the freeze would affect the state.
What we're doing is we are stopping the federal payments that will go to the state government until the state government takes its obligations seriously to stop the fraud that's being perpetrated against the American taxpayer.
The vice president highlighted what he called a particularly egregious abuse within a program intended to offer after-school services for autistic children, stating, quote, "A program that existed to ensure that autistic children had access to some after-school services has made a number of people rich." According to a report from City Journal in November, federal counterterrorism sources discovered a flow of millions of dollars in stolen funds allegedly transferred from Minnesota to Somalia. Some of this money is said to have reached Al-Shabaab, a U.S.-designated terrorist organization. The report alleged that significant portions of the fraud involved members of Minnesota's sizable Somali community and quoted one confidential source as saying, "The largest funder of Al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer." The same report examined Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services program, launched in 2020 to help seniors, individuals struggling with addiction, and those with mental illness secure housing. State officials initially projected the program would cost about $2.6 million annually, but instead, payments topped $21 million in 2021, then climbed all the way to $104 million by the end of 2024. In just the first 6 months of 2025, payouts had already reached $61 million. The funding halt also builds on earlier action from the Department of Health and Human Services. Axios reported that in January, the department notified Minnesota it would withhold about $515 million in federal Medicaid, matching funds quarterly until compliance is met. The millions of dollars in funds will remain on hold until the state can prove that safeguards have been implemented. In our next story, Cuba's government claims a Florida-registered speedboat illegally entered its waters Wednesday and opened fire on approaching border guard troops, sparking a deadly firefight that left 4 people dead on board. According to Breitbart, the Cuban embassy in the United States shared a statement on Wednesday afternoon, attributed to the Ministry of the Interior, detailing the confrontation. 4 aggressors on the foreign vessel were killed and 6 were injured. The injured individuals were evacuated and received medical assistance. Secretary of State Marco Rubio addressed the still unfolding situation, saying, quote, "We're going to find out exactly what happened here, and then we'll respond accordingly." An unnamed U.S. official told the New York Times that the speedboat was a civilian vessel and was, quote, part of a flotilla to get relatives out of Cuba, also clarifying that the boat did not belong to either the U.S. Navy or the U.S. Coast Guard. U.S. Representative Carlos Jimenez issued a statement saying, quote, United States authorities must determine whether any of the victims were U.S. citizens or legal residents and establish exactly what occurred. The regime in Cuba must be relegated to the dustbin of history for its countless crimes against humanity. Next up, while at a routine stop for coffee at a gas station, Phoenix movers helped stop an alleged kidnapper after recognizing a 3-year-old from an Amber Alert. Red State reported that last weekend, Kalani Rogers was reported missing from her home in Avondale, Arizona, after being last seen in the late evening hours of February 20th. On Sunday, a crew from Camelback Moving pulled into a Phoenix gas station for their usual coffee break until an Amber Alert for Rogers pinged their phones. Seconds later, a security guard they knew rushed over to them saying, quote, I think the suspect just walked in with the missing kid.
Oh my God, that's her. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yep, that's her.
As the guard called 911, the movers blocked the suspect's car with their trucks. Police arrived about 90 seconds later, a response that company founder Chad Olson said was crucial to ensuring the child's safe recovery. Camelback has said one of the things they are doing for the employees who helped save the day is to give them all a week off with pay so they could spend time with their own families. The moving company's founder, Chad Olson, said, quote, we're a moving company. We're not professional heroes, but we're good people and we do the right thing. And now it's time for Quick Hits. A retired U.S. Air Force major and former F-35 instructor pilot, Gerald Eddie Brown Jr., was arrested for allegedly conspiring to illegally train People's Liberation Army Air Force combat pilots in China, starting in late 2023. Officials say he lacked the required U.S. authorization, violating the Arms Export Control Act. FBI agents raided the home of Los Angeles Unified School District Superintendent Alberto Carvalho on Wednesday as part of a federal probe reportedly tied to a $6 million contract with now defunct AI startup All Here. Oregon's U.S. Representative Maxine Dexter recently called the Make America Healthy Again campaign to drink whole milk, quote, white supremacy dog whistling. Despite attempts by many on the left to claim that gold medalist Jack Hughes had alienated his fan base after accepting an invitation to the White House, he was met with massive applause and a standing ovation during his first game back with the New Jersey Devils. And here's a new fear unlocked. In Omaha, Nebraska, 2 vehicles fell into a sinkhole while stopped at a traffic light on Tuesday. Thankfully, the drivers weren't hurt and were able to climb out to safety. That's a wrap for this week. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us what you thought about these stories, and we'll see you here next week on The Wrap-Up. Thank you so much for watching this video. In order to keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation today.